Hello. Welcome to our luncheon general session. I think we've had a lot of discussion about process. This is really going to be more of a products, applications, and experience focused session today, covering the big 7 single-family tech experiences and applications. Our panel. Joe, you didn't make the cut on the pictures here.
I know.
Sorry.
I was,
But
you couldn't fit another one.
no, we couldn't fit you.
There,
So Joe's not on there, but Joe and I will be kind of partnering and walking through the play-by-play on these 7 application areas. And then Trevor, who was on our keynote panel last night with Buffington Homes, will be one of our builder panelists giving us hot takes on these categories and these experiences, and he's a very candid and honest and outspoken person. Dan with Craftmark Homes was on a panel with us in Louisville and will also be giving us expert insights on these categories. And then Sean Stover will be working on the presentation of the Smart Connected Social Kitchen side of things. So that's your panel for today. Purpose is to take you through what we think are, either surging or emerging applications and experience areas. We're going to do some definitional work in terms of features and benefits. We're going to talk about good, better, best, and we're going to get some insights from the builders in particular on whether these things are winners or which aspect of them do they think is a winner, or what's the key to success. So you guys will figure it out. You're outspoken. Perfect. And this is the order of the big 7. We're going to go through smart home security plus robust networks, lighting experiences, energy independence, smart connected social kitchen, work from home, high performance and whole home AV, and healthy home. Here we go. Smart home security and robust networks. So here's your another smart art work of art for the day. These are kind of the major categories within this smart home security category. I have a little narrative here in terms of the bullets. So I think we've seen in the research, and we all just see it in the market. This is probably the most deeply penetrated category of stuff in the new home market. There's different flavors of it, and it's not just in the new home market that this is popular. This is popular in existing homes. So the security piece and the basic or light home automation is very frequently teamed with structured wiring and structured Wi-Fi, so robust network. This is probably the category of stuff that we see the most standardization on among builders. And it kind of, just to give you a little historical, this really lit up in around 2009 when ADT and Vivint pioneered recurring revenue model around automation. We always expected security guys were going to be players on the home automation side of things, but not until they figured out a way to make incremental RMR on it. So it really took off in 2009, and at the same time, the cable companies were trying to figure out new revenue sources for as the people were cutting the cord on cable, and security and home automation. So we got a lot of money pouring in on this category, and that's why it's so strong in adoption, in addition to the fact that it delivers value. A little more background for you on the bullets. So let's go around the horn. Video doorbell is a frequent inclusion. Additional cameras beyond the doorbell are a frequent inclusion. Alarm systems, sometimes monitored, sometimes not. The keyless lock, we saw that at the top of the list with our research with Interpret. Those are almost always a piece of the equation. Connected thermostats, lighting control at some basic levels, and then that hybrid home network piece. So those are the constituent elements. And this is what I would say is my take on a good, better, best collection, okay? So I know we saw in the research that video doorbell is not a near universal inclusion, but I think it's one of the most effective I've been in the security industry. There's a lot of doorbells rung before there's a burglary, and I think that the video doorbell is a pretty darn effective piece, and it's got a lot of convenience features, teams well with the lock, so I'd consider that. Table stakes, I think additional cameras would be in the better category, additional cameras with cloud recording, and potential for professional monitoring being brought into the equation, I'd put in the best category. The alarm system not monitored in the better, alarm system pro monitored in the best, keyless locks across the board, connected thermostat across the board. I've been surprised to see connected thermostat dipping a little bit, but this is just obvious convenience and energy efficiency on that piece. And then the lighting control for path of egress, path of access in the better and best categories, and maybe adding a couple of zones or loads to that in the best category. Hybrid home network needs to be across the board. So that's kind of my take on the good, better, best. What do you guys think?
I think the big change in the past few years has been the democratization of video. I know I love it in my house. You know, the doorbell, the driveway camera, the camera in the back. It's great. So I think that's been a huge change in my life.
Yeah.
I think it hits on a lot of the areas where we can differentiate ourselves from the resale market. You know, as we're seeing and saw some of the statistics last night, that's our competition. You know, there's what six resale homes for every one new home. So it's just a no-brainer to make sure that we're focusing on some of these things and see that we have them, you know, in this common market.
Good.
Two things I just toss in here. One is, as we go through this, there's a number of benefits that you can apply to different features in the house, and they create a moment or an experience for the homeowner. And so lighting is one of the keys, right? It's ambiance, it's safety, it's peace of mind. And when you market these things, you can attach them to different customer benefits. And the second thing I'll say here on the smart home security is paying attention to the security of the network. You got all these things hanging out there, and homeowners are hearing more and more about someone infiltrating their home network. So network security is a big piece to pay attention to, I think, with your partners.
That's a great point. Network security as it affects the devices, network security as it affects data breaches too.
Yeah.
So it's not just hardware, it's some of the software stuff too. Cool. All right, Joe, I'm going to flip for you because otherwise it's going to be a lot of air hockey here.
No problem. What do
So,
we got? What's up? Oh, lighting experiences. Oh, that's really great to read that. Okay. So for lighting experiences, you know, it's a segue into, there's a lot of ways to cut this, but you've got quality of light. That's a big topic now. There's obviously design. There's the controls of the lighting. And then you get into the outdoor lighting, which I think a lot of our custom home builders may get involved with, but it's a really growing category. A lot of the system integrators are getting into outdoor lighting along with their outdoor audio. And lighting can provide safety and security benefits, comfort and ambiance, and then you really don't manage or you don't have a complete lighting experience if you're not managing the natural light, and that's typically done with shades. And there's some new windows out there that are blocking light with some different technologies. So, you know, this isn't going to be a lighting or presentation. We do have one tomorrow for the luxury guys that go into more detail. But the quality of light, the color of light, giving choices, and then we get into the higher end light, which can actually tune the light, circadian rhythm, change the color and temperature of the light during the day. And then CRI, color rendering index, this is the quality of light, and it really, if you've seen demos with quality lighting, it really pulls colors out of artwork, finishes. If you have some really great textured walls, it can really make that pop. So those are some of the other sort of areas in lighting to pay attention to. And then design. You know, design is a process of designing in layers, and we're dealing with a variety of home builders here. But lighting is important. It's important from object, task, creating that ambient light, pathway lights, and good lighting design, especially if you're doing open houses at night, makes a huge difference. So I think those are ways in which you can differentiate and take more of a front seat approach to offering quality design in your lighting. And then, of course, control. Early days, when you're talking about lighting control and folks would be a little less comfortable with wanting that technology, you would just say, hey, yeah, I know in the kitchen where you have 6, 7, 8 loads, you're going to have 6, 7, 8 light switches. And it sits in the back of the mind. Then you push this in front of them and say, I can consolidate that. And it's as an option or a standard, it really sells well. And you have the ability to have a much prettier, cleaner wall. And at some point, it's going to resonate with the homeowner that might be a nicer way to actually get the scenes. You have 8 loads, the designer picks a scene for you, give me one button to press it instead of managing a bunch of different switches. And so you got the safety, security, and comfort and ambiance. So again, lighting can be about safety. It can help you get home at night or get into the house with a lighted pathway. You can have at-home lighting simulation that makes you look like you're home when you're not. And then comfort and ambiance should be obvious. And I really just took a couple basic approaches. For really anybody, custom or production builders, I think the peace of mind package is something that I would always include in your standard. And that's the outdoor lights and the pathway lights. You come home, the house is lit. You open the door, you have a pathway to the kitchen or the second floor landing, and it's just an easy way to get in. You got groceries, you got a baby in your arm, and call it the peace of mind package. Market this so you really can connect to it. And then it also opens the doors for the upgrades. Once you start with lighting, you're going to want to get it into that kitchen area where I've got multiple loads and I want to create those scenes. And then obviously the best is a whole home solution. On the convenience side, outdoor motion is great. Add the pathways, and on the best, consider getting that landscape lighting involved. And on the security safety side, same sort of thing, outdoor motion, integrating video doorbell and lighting, right? So at night, when someone comes up to that video doorbell, if you get a light to come on, now you're lighting the subject that is in front of the camera, much easier to see who they are. And then, at-home simulation, control that makes the lights come on and off, looks like someone's living there.
Hey, Joe, before we get the take from the builders, the circadian rhythm, the biorhythms tuned lighting, I mean, is that part of the package here, too?
Yeah, so I think it's the color would be like, give them a nice color option as a standard, a warm dim, right, effect where you don't change the color as you dim the light, it stays warm, could be the better. And then full circadian rhythm and color control would be the best there. And it's coming down in price. I mean, you've got the high end with a Ketra, and you've gotten some more entry-level products that are going to be coming online for production builders. So it's really going to be something that's across the gamut.
What do you think, Dan?
I mean, lighting is probably my number one thing that I've been most excited about, what it can do, how it can demonstrate a home. But the funny thing is that our sales offices, we're only open 11 to 5, 11 to 6. So people aren't in our models in the times really when lighting is really being used and effective. Of course, that's one of the things with some of the shift now to touring on your schedule and coming in, after hours through some of the vendors that have been here. And,
right.
That obviously can be one way to really demonstrate what you can do with lighting in your home.
Self-guided tours.
The self-guided tours, because now you're in there at night and they can really get that experience of you walk up to the house and lights turn on and things that were dim are rising up.
That's a great point.
Come in and have the little placard that says hey, it's movie time, and these lights dim, and the home theater fires up.
It's kind of so obvious, but lighting is a category that's probably been undersold historically just based on the time of the appointments, right? So there's no reason for it other than that, right? Because you aren't really able to demonstrate the effects. So that's an interesting insight.
I think that also moving forward, are we going to ever see a shift away from some of the pretty finishes that have become so incredibly popular, and all the money that gets put into kitchens and baths. Well, if you can't afford all of those things, but you still want some really nice features in your home, some of the technology things and lighting can be one of those things. If it's like, I don't really care that my bathroom should be something out of Architectural Digest, but I can really make this house livable.
Yeah. Trevor, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm going to piggyback on your point about the architectural lighting, and we're moving away from just task lighting, can lights everywhere. Now we're using so much more, rope lights, probably not the right word, but small, strip lights and things like that to light up the architectural features. I think it's really powerful to go into a house at nighttime when
Wall wash,
yeah,
stuff
exactly.
like that, beautiful. Artwork that's lit up well. Yeah.
Do we think that that's just a high-end thing, or is it going to come down into the mainstream?
I think it can get there. I think it's getting more into the mainstream, but I think some of us on the builder end, we have to start putting it in and showing it.
I think with a good design, you can get the fixture locations identified, and then you do have the flexibility of changing the fixture to have a spot, a flood, a wall wash, right? Aimable lights. So you have a little bit of, I'm going to put a piece of art here. I would like to get light on it, and you can address it.
It almost starts to become interior design for the middle market, right?
Yeah.
How do we start to democratize, that?
I guess the last thing too is also paying attention to shades. If you're in a room where it's obvious where the TV is going to go and it's opposite a south-facing window, get some light, get something in there to block that light. It could be a manual shade, but if you think it's a step up and you want some automation there, you're going to turn your TV on, have that shade come down, and block that light.
All right, we got to keep going because we only have so much time. We have a bunch of categories. I'm calling this energy independence. There's a lot of other words for it, but it's the smart, clean power category. I think this is a newer category for builders. The drivers for this is a slide from the folks at Savant, but I think the number one driver is probably the energy resilience thing. It's just people don't want to rely on these unstable institutional things like the grid. And so having some independence beyond just like a backup generator in an emergency, I think is really appealing. There are economic benefits over time to these systems, and then for the environmentally conscious, it's a way of making a contribution to a healthier planet. Here's the ecosystem of stuff in a smart power system, for energy independence for the home. So the one at the top gets forgotten about a lot because it's been around forever, but the grid is part of this system. The grid, in many cases, is your battery of choice. Because you're going to send power back up the grid, and then you're going to take power down when you need it, when the price of the power is not as high. So we shouldn't forget about the grid when we think about these systems. That's not always capable of being done in every location, but if it is, it's certainly part of the system. Solar panels are the preferred generation mechanism. We've got batteries, and batteries are mostly there for backup and buffering purposes. It's still pretty darn expensive to have batteries powering your entire home. What is that other? It's hard to see those guys from here. Standby generators are a legacy product, but they're certainly still in the mix, and I can't read that guy either.
Interfaces and meters, inverters and meters.
Inverters and meters, those are going to enable the switchovers between the DC current generated by the solar and the AC current. What do we got next?
Smart load centers.
Smart load centers. So we've got a lot of power needs, especially when we get EV chargers into the mix. How do we distribute that power intelligently and efficiently?
Electrical infrastructure.
Thank you. Yeah, that's a sexy category, but you know, it's wire and cable and connectors, but it's an essential piece of the equation.
Your devices.
The devices themselves, if they're smarter, they can be part of an efficient energy system. The EV chargers, I mean, EV sales are on fire, right? I don't think we're going to be able to keep up with the demand, especially with gas prices where they are. And there's so much investment behind that. So,
And the car charging the house is definitely coming. Ford's touting it. Those EV chargers will be involved in coordinating that activity as
yeah,
well.
and then, you know, controls and user interfaces and dashboards for folks to manage their energy output, their energy inputs, their savings, et cetera. These are kind of the pieces and parts of a system. Just to show you some of the stuff, again, we're using Savant's materials for a little bit of a walkthrough.
And one of the simple benefits of those panels is when you add a generator to a house, typically you have to bifurcate the loads you're going to run off the generator when the generator runs. This allows you to direct the power from the generator to any load in the house. You can keep the fridge going during the day. You can spend more power to the EV charger at night.
Yep. You know, Savant they've done a good job with some consumer materials to help educate the consumer on these pieces and parts and how they work together to provide the benefits that we walk through. This is a page out of a guide that we put together with the folks at Schumacher Electric. Mickey and Chantel are with us here as networking sponsors. But you know, we kind of put together a simple, starting with that EV charger being needed, a simple solution, a future-ready solution, and then the complete system solution, and try to detail out on that complete system solution, which is that entire ecosystem of stuff, the savings that could be realized, the investment required, but the long-term savings that can be realized. That's one way to look at your offers and to explain offers to consumers. And then in terms of my good, better, best on this, the grid is always a piece of this. Sexy electrical infrastructure, an EV charger, and some controls at the good level. For the better level, kind of everything but the batteries, and then the batteries being added at the best level. What do you think about it? Do you have in South Carolina, folks that are looking to become energy independent and have the
power? We're a hurricane zone, so I mean, we were out of power last week, so almost everybody's wanting definitely energy independence, generators. The batteries, I'm excited to see where it goes. We've priced like the Tesla Powerwalls and a few of those things, and to get any sizable amount of time under battery power, it's very expensive. It might as well just get a Generac, So.
Yeah, it's kind of a backup and a buffer, and when I say it's a buffer, you could shrink your size of your solar panels a little bit with the battery, and it's there as a backup source. But in terms of it being the central source of power for the house, it's just cost prohibitive, even for luxury customers, I think.
Solar has not hit our market at all. Almost nobody wants solar on their houses, so it's just not been popular in my market at all. So,
what do you think?
So it's very market dependent, but I think that you almost have to treat solar a little bit like you do new IRC, regs that come out. That that, okay, well, it finally made it into the book, but our local jurisdiction, they're telling us, okay, well, we're not going to adopt that for another 4 years or whatever, or when it comes out in the next edition of the IRC, then we're going to have to adopt it. I think that solar is one of those things that if it's not in your market now, you need to start paying attention and being aware and planning, because it will eventually.
Yeah, I think the pre-wiring, just to make it easier to add solar, it's going to come. It's going to get cheaper. It's going to get, people are going to want it. And if you buy a house and in 5 years you have to spend a ton of money to get at it, you'd be frustrated. Why not make it easy? Like an EV charger. Yeah, I don't need one now today, but get the plug in the garage.
Good. All right, we're going to move on to smart connected kitchen, and I'm going to pass this guy down because there's a lot of control required over there.
Yeah, well, Sean, this is really your ballywag. So why don't you, you've done a great job helping me understand why smart appliances. Let's share that here.
Yeah, sure. I mean, we talked a lot about different pieces of smart technology, doorbells, thermostats, lights, blinds, et cetera. All of those things have gotten more sophisticated, right? I mean, I don't think anybody thought about a thermostat. Maybe you had a programmable thermostat, but now you're buying a $200 Nest or an Ecobee or something like that. Same thing with the video doorbell. But they add the peace of mind, they have the benefits. Appliances have gotten that same way. They've gotten more and more sophisticated, and then they have benefits beyond just the basic things that they could do, right? So when you think about a meal, and you think about making a meal, and you think about, I gotta plan the meal. What are we gonna make? What's for dinner? It's a major question that a lot of consumers ask for. I got to purchase that meal, so I got to go and get it, or I got to have it delivered. I got to store that product. I got to put it into a refrigerator or some kind of containment. I've got to cook it, so I've got to actually prep it and cook and make that meal. Don't forget, you got to clean it up, and then you've got to replenish it again, right? So it's a fairly complicated process to be able to just provide a meal to your family, which is something that you do every single day. And when you talk about that, that's a refrigerator, it's a range, it's a dishwasher, just in that process of the three things that I talked about, not to mention any other kinds of small appliances that you make, right? So when you think about that, and then you combine it with just the shifts in the industries of the omni-channel approach, right? People want things the way that they want it. You've got to be able to meet them where they're at, and they're demanding that. And I see no other way to do that than a connected strategy, right? If it's not connected, if they're not connected to their pieces, I find it very difficult to be able to try and do that. So really, from a kitchen standpoint, it's a matter of trying to bring those things together in a way that's appropriate for consumer. And then you look at the rest of the industry with Matter and with the Home Connectivity Alliance that are bringing all of these smart products together, right? They're bringing them all under one interoperability type of an approach. You start to see where the 5 things that I've got on this page are just the beginning of where smart technology and smart homes can go.
Yeah, you brought a couple of videos, right? Mm-hmm. All right. Are we able to play that first video?
Alexa, what's the weather like today?
The weather outside is 67 degrees Fahrenheit, with sunny skies.
Alexa, tell Smart HQ to wash my cashmere.
Setting washer for cashmere.
Alexa, tell Smart HQ to remove wine stains.
Adjusting washer for wine stains.
Alexa, play music.
All right, playing music you like.
So that's one, if you look at it, I've actually fought against putting Alexa in a washer. I kind of questioned why we wanted to do it. But then once I got it, you started to realize this kind of multimodal experience that you get when you do something like that, where you take a fairly complex device. It's got a lot of features and functions on the control, and via your voice, you can have it get wine stains out. You can have it set to silk or to cashmere, just with your voice. Those are functions and features, and those are things that I knew we could do. What I didn't realize was laundry's a chore. I don't know if anybody in the audience likes to do it, but I absolutely hate it. And I really, really hate folding the clothes. But what I found is I could catch up on the latest chapter of the ebook that I was listening to while I'm folding the clothes, which doesn't sound like much, but it takes that chore and makes it a little less choreful, I guess, or a little less, little more desirable, I guess, is a better way to look at it.
When are you guys going to come up with the folding clothes robot?
Yeah, that's
Where is that?
That's the
That's
billion
smart.
dollar. That's the billion dollar
smart.
investment. Yeah,
Is that 20 years?
probably.
Okay.
So it's you know, when you look at smart technology, you want to make it purposeful, and that's really what we ended up doing with this. Is we gave you something that took a chore, made it easier, but also took the complexity of what consumers wanted to do and made it easier. We showed an adult there, but that could easily be a child, right, doing the laundry. So you're providing that experience to a child, because these homes are investments, right? You're selling something to a family that is going to probably have a baby. That baby's going to become a toddler. That toddler's going to become an adolescent. It's going to become a teenager, right? And so how do these products change with that lifestyle? Because they're investing in the home. If you don't have a connected product, that thing is going to stay exactly the same way that it did day one.
I would think if you were just able to, the dryer dries, let me know about it, and if I can't get to it, let's keep spinning it and keep the wrinkles out of it.
And that's, to me, if you look at your good, better, best, or your table stakes, like remote operation notifications table stakes, right? You have to be able to do those types of things. You take it into voice assistance and replenishment, right? Where you're working with Alexas and Googles and you're ordering stuff. Again, good, but you can get better. And then you start looking at, okay, now you get into multimodal, like some of the stuff that I showed with the Alexa, where you're talking about the user interface. How do they interact with it? What are the different pieces that I can do? How can it perform better than it could if I didn't know how to do that?
Are there some steps where a standard for a production builder would be a non-smart product or a smart product that have some features, and how do you stage through that?
Yeah, so I think what you want to look at is you want to get into the smart category, right? So you find the entry level that meets the consumer's needs, and then from that point, once you're at smart, it's about the hardware, and when the hardware is available, then you get the upgradability. So it goes from baby bottles to sports bottles, from baby clothes to soccer uniforms, right? Are all the things that you can do as those families' needs change. Not to mention, we've got one other video that can show you where the performance comes into it, where you can really take something that didn't exist the day that they bought it and give it to them later on.
Great. Let's play that second video.
So that was the third of the over-the-air updates that we've done. We did turkey and we did air fry as well for our consumers. So it's about driving point. Those things weren't available when those consumers put those products into their homes, or you guys put them into the homes. They came afterwards, and connected technologies and the strategy is the only way to be able to do that. So to me, it's an investment. I think, again, you start out, and then with the right partners and the right companies, it takes it and moves it to the next stage.
And I know that the microwave with the screen as a hub for the kitchen. What is that connecting to?
So that can control all of our appliances. It can control a lot of partner appliances like Philips Hue light bulbs and things like that. So think of it like a central hub tablet that can control a lot of different pieces, plus play music, plus give you all the advantages. So it's almost like a Android tablet.
But what about information and communications on that? Too?
Yeah.
So. I mean, you're able to source recipes, and you've got them in a bigger format, and
Internet's
can you do FaceTime and stuff on that?
Yeah, the internet's at your fingertips, and it's got the cameras to be able to communicate. So, if you wanted to call grandma and say, "I'm screwing up this marinara sauce. I don't know what I'm doing." She can actually see it. She just needs a smartphone. She can actually see what you're doing.
You have it in the range. You have a camera in the range hood. So you can see the stovetop, and you can see.
Yeah, you can see that, and then she can say, well, you're putting too much tomato sauce, or you need to, it's not tomato juice, it's tomato sauce, right? That's why it looks like tomato soup. So
Sean, you're showing your non-paisano nature. We don't put tomato juice in sauce.
Well, I know, that's why it looks like tomato soup.
How are our builder partners seeing either demand and or?
So the number one thing that jumped out at me is an opportunity to reinforce in the prospect's mind that, hey, I'm getting a new home. I don't have to just take what range and microwave that they have in those 4 resales that we looked at this afternoon as well. Yeah, it's cool. It gets me excited, but if your sales staff can, again, just reinforcing that this is what it is to have a new home. These are the opportunities that you have by purchasing a new home. So even if I'm not having to go head-to-head competition with the other builder that's down the street in the other community, whatever, it's that, hey, we're going to reinforce this is a new home.
True. What do you think?
I've always been a big poo-pooer about the smart appliances, especially a few years ago where you're kind of like, what am I going to do? Set my dryer from far away? I still got to put the stuff in and all of that. But it has come a long way. I mean, some of the things you've just talked about that I haven't even seen sound very interesting. The main thing that I like is just a notification, like on your phone, bzz, dryer's done. That's pretty cool. So.
Well, I think that remote start of an oven was way overused early on, like 10, 15 years ago. Like it was the promise of the smart home, and people go, wait, how often do I need to do that? Yeah, some people do, but I think it's come a long way. I think the social, connected recipes. I mean, I love to cook, and just be able to get something, and if I'm trying to do something I've not done before, how do I get an example of it?
Yeah, I mean, cooking is a family and friends thing. There's a lot of sharing. So I like the social information communication aspects, and the appliances are there, right? And the cooking needs to be done in an updated way. But I'd like to see more on the IT, AV side of things. I think that's part of the game. Yeah.
As long as it's not something else that's going to break.
Aha. Okay.
All right.
You wanna let's
work from home.
You're gonna be my slide man now?
I'm gonna get you there, and you can give it back.
Thank you.
The control freak.
We saw this yesterday from John Burns' deck, and I was hunting early this morning for other stats. I think this is in a state of flux. You were asking Trevor yesterday, is this trend going to stick? There's a lot of prognostication that it will. These numbers were done in 2021, I noticed on John's slide, so I don't even know where we are on 2022. There might be more people working at home, and I think hybrid has become a majority work from home situation. We have a remote first policy, so folks are coming into our office once a week. So I think everyone understands there's a lot of opportunity here. This would not go in a flywheel on the Smart Art front. So this is a lot of tiles, no flywheel. But this is the stuff that makes it up. I think in the top part, we're talking about the really closely work related, and work is office work, and it is video conferencing and performance art to some extent. So category 6 cable. You do need some hardwired runs if you're going to be doing a lot of video conferencing, so you probably need a structured wiring hub. An efficient and clean way to get the power that you need to the desktop for all of the different gear that you've got there. Monitors and video displays, they could be wall mounted, they could be desk mounted, but that all needs to be done with appropriate ergonomics. Cameras, lighting, speakers that are positioned in the right ways. Has anyone struggled with getting the camera in the right place and also being able to see the monitor at the same time? And I think we're all contorting ourselves a lot of different ways. This stuff can be addressed ergonomically. Sometimes you want to I'm a whiteboard lover. I would love to be able to show my whiteboard more easily than I do. Sometimes it's more of a decorative backdrop. So there's that office space and a whole complex of products there. Then we got to realize that not everyone isn't always in their office doing work. They could be out on the deck or whatever have you. So you're going to need great Wi-Fi, indoor and outdoor. Back in that office, beyond the work gear, the shades and lighting control for when you go to that kind of broadcast mode and you got to take glare out and you got to pop on screen is a category. And then these things that relate to convenience and feeling good while you're working from home. So indoor air quality, I think the healthy lighting piece and its influence on sleeping patterns is important. If you're stuck at your desk, but you have stuff coming to the door, to have some security and door control. Often forgotten about because it's in between the walls or invisible acoustics. Making for the right acoustics in the space and buffering the sound that might be coming in or going out to other parts of the house. And then the stuff that's really more about well-being, the fitness gear, getting good sleep because you have to change modalities, so the blackout shades, et cetera. Some place to go that takes you away from the work and creates some sort of mindfulness. So that's the ecosystem of stuff. Our friends at Legrand were kind enough to put together this infograph that delineates a lot of what we just talked about, especially the office gear from a product perspective. I encourage you all to stop by and visit the folks at Legrand because they're working on these concepts. And here's my good, better, best on this. The wiring, the power, and the Wi-Fi being the table stakes level, adding in some of the office and video conferencing functionality for better, and then really kind of across that whole ecosystem of applications and products for the best. I think one of the complications here is show versus sell. There's a bring your own devices aspect to this. Certainly the computer, you're not going to be selling computers as builders, but you could sell the infrastructure that supports the right ergonomics, the right signal quality, and all these surrounding accessories. And if folks are going to do resets on some of those devices, you could have arrangements with retailers to create opportunities for the home buyer to get that stuff as they restructure. I think the other piece of this is multi-purpose rooms. So not everybody has the dedicated space, and not every market you're going to have the opportunity to provide a dedicated space. So in those cases, you're going to have to figure out ways to conceal some of this, convert the space from work to recreation or relaxation. And that might involve furnishings and other design elements. But that's kind of my take on the work from home stuff. What do you guys think?
I think every house now has the expectation of some workspace. For my clients, it's always a full-on office, sometimes two, and that's just what we do. I mean, it's every house.
Yeah. How do you ideate with your clients on this, on the Lux space? I mean, do you have a lot of pictures or video from work that you've already done where you can show them ideas, or do they come to you with stuff? Do you custom design?
We always have
everything?
designers and architects involved as well, so generally it's not really my job, if you will. I can suggest things, but usually that happens during the design process.
How tuned in are they to this area, the architects and designers? Are they all over it?
So, very much so, because I think everybody in their own lives has been doing the Zoom thing,
Yeah.
It's just kind of universal now.
Yeah. What do you think?
I think that it's an area that has to be addressed by many different areas and components in the home building organization, from the design the actual floor layouts of, finding little spaces in a home where you can do that multi-purpose workspace, to making sure that the actual model home designers are really clued in that, hey, this needs to be an important part of it. It's not just throwing the fake plastic laptop out onto a desk that you put somewhere and that's your home office. And because for many, many years that was it. You had the little prop,
Right.
The fake laptop that would go there.
It's like, oh, I work here. Yep.
Yeah,
But that's
no,
not enough.
you really need to show that no, this is a workspace, and these are the details that we have put into thinking about what makes it a workspace. Again, another one of those things that you can use to differentiate between new and used, but also between you and your competition, of really demonstrating that, hey, this is the kind of attention to detail that we put into things.
Yeah.
Between this category and say the smart kitchen, the tabletop appliances, is there impact to storage? Is there more storage needed? Is that something as a construction trend or an element that you're considering, or is it not an issue?
Home storage in terms of
just
where
you've
you
got more
stash the
things.
Christmas
Like
tree
you're
for
gonna if you're going to have a multi-purpose room, where are you going to put your work stuff? You're going to have 3 or 4 these smart tabletop kitchen appliances. They don't sit on the counter all day long. Do you need bigger storage space? Is that developing, or you don't see it?
Probably should be.
Okay. Next
Where do you put the air fryer? Where do you put the toaster oven? Where do
running
you
out of
put
space.
Yeah.
They go to the yard sale, maybe.
What could the technology industry, or even beyond technology, some of the other construction elements of this, what could they do to make the job easier for the high volume side of things in terms of showing an updated work from home sort of situation or different scenarios? I mean, do you have reference designs at hand that are offered up to you?
No.
Okay.
No, I think again, it's like that one slide that you had that was showing, the mounts and some of the different connection pieces that you can use, and that's showing the level of detail that we as a builder are thinking about, that this is a priority. That's one of those communicate with your vendors and what can we come up with together.
Do you have something like this in any of your models, or?
Trying to, but we're not there yet.
Does anyone have what they consider a good play in the model? Okay. Did I see a hand or not?
I mean, I think we all insinuate that, okay, well, this can be a workspace here, but we haven't figured out, okay, well, how do we monetize that? How do we drive options that because I'm going to work from home, this needs to be really important to me.
KB had an interesting show house at the Builder Show a couple years ago, where there was a wall that moved, and it sort of gave more space to the kitchen when you were entertaining, and it came out and had a dual purpose office/guest room. So it was a multi-room space that I thought was clever.
Yeah.
The other thing I saw last week was a built-in mic array that is, from a production builder standpoint, having a Zoom speaker is not really a builder product. This was more of a built-in, taking it out of the commercial space.
Yeah.
Something that would allow a pacer like me to walk around the room and have good audio for Zoom meetings.
Yeah. I mean, maybe we need to be talking to more people from the commercial space. Commercial office design, the commercial
There was more
AV,
commercial products at CEDA
conference
last week.
room type design, and maybe they can bring some of the ideas. This is clearly an opportunity. We have not figured out how to come together as builders and technology industry to really show it and sell it in a powerful way. I hope we can help you all do it. So we're just highlighting an opportunity, but not really giving you the answer right now. Sorry about that. All right. High performance and whole house AV. This is a renaissance area during the COVID. A lot of people were homebound, and they did a lot of binge consumption of AV. This is an idea, this high performance AV zone, that we've been talking to some vendors in the AV space about. It's just while dedicated home theaters and media rooms have seen a little bit of a rebound, I think the consumption patterns for content are a lot of things going on. Maybe somebody or a couple of folks focused on critical viewing and listening, and others on the periphery, not so much. But we should be able to give them a great AV experience, and we really do have the technology to deliver a zone of great sound and video within a multi-purpose room. And I think it's a really interesting way to market it in new construction, is create the concept of a zone, and like there's multiple places where you could put that zone. So we'll dig in a little bit more on that. Dedicated home theater and media rooms, like I said, that's stepped up a little bit. There is an opportunity to dual purpose some of the AV that we talked about for the office for entertainment purposes. So it becomes a media room. It goes from being a great office studio to a media room, so that's an area. I think multi-room audio is really, folks at Sonos have popularized it in existing homes, and they're playing in the new construction space. But if you live with it, you kind of want it. It's like you got the soundtrack of your life following you around. When you fill up the whole house with music when guests come over, or when you're in kind of party mode, even within the family, it's just a great experience. So I think that's solid with growing gradual interest. I think we have architectural video now. We've had architectural audio for 30 years, but now with things like Frame TVs, we have an ability to distribute video and even get into the art budget with some of the technology. And then outdoor AV is huge, because outdoor is huge, period. Like I was saying on the high performance zone, so what is that? It's an ultra high definition display or projector and screen. It's surround sound with a sub and spatial imaging. If you don't have a sub, you're just like missing the sound experience. It just provides the foundation. Don't leave subs out. They can be placed within multi-purpose rooms, as we discussed. I think to sell these, we need like reference designs and engineering. We talked about that this morning in our design and engineering session for the high volume folks. Is you got to be able to show what we're talking about better to the consumer for them to bite on it. And then there are accessorization opportunities with lighting and shade control that go with that zone. I did want to dig in a little bit on that. Here's my good, better, best. Good would be you've got those high performance zones in spaces where there is typically a lot of AV consumption, and you've got some multi-room audio probably with just freestanding speakers. Better, you move to the built-ins and the architectural on the speakers, and you expand the zones. And then best would add a dedicated room of some sort. And I like, and I don't know whether you're doing this or not, I like the invisible sound, the quality of the grill-less, speakerless. They just basically are resonating through the wall. That quality has come up, and I think that's a wow on the audio experience side of things. And I think the Frame TVs, and we have Samsung here, by the way, too, that can become artwork when they're not a video display, can be more broadly deployed. So I don't know. What do you think? Do you have any commentary to add on this? This is familiar territory.
I just think that it's not a lot of work to make a compelling entertainment solution with hidden wires, speakers in the ceiling, and a second zone of audio. And you compare that to going to the electronics store after the fact, and you have the wires running down to your cable box. It's not a lot of work to make a compelling offer. And if you do it in an organized way with some good collateral, I think the sell-through should be good. It just has to be presented early and get some good brands in there, right? The sales team should be, your website should be talking about these design packages purposely designed for the space. Your sales team should be talking about these things. So by the time it gets to the design center or your tech salespeople, you've got enough benefits to get the sell-through.
What do the builders say?
I'm all about it. I love big TVs and loud music and speakers, all that stuff. So yeah,
And your clients love it too?
they do. No, I haven't done a theater in years. That's just wasted square footage when you can have the great sound, you can have the great TV and all that stuff in your living room, and it doesn't look bad. It doesn't take away from the room. So now we get these speaker apertures that are tiny.
Yeah.
And they look just like the can lights, so they sound fantastic.
I don't think most of this will ever be, standards, but you've got to have the availability of a robust option packages for this. And that also means taking the time to sit down and think through, okay, well, if we're, going to do multi-room audio, where are the speakers going to go? It goes back to, what we were talking earlier today in Louisville about planning out for some of these things ahead of time.
Right.
So yes, there is the element of, well, you know what, the integrators are going to take care of that. The integrators are going to sell it, the integrators are going to install it, and we're going to wipe our hands of it. I get that, but on our end as the builder, we do need, to spend some of that time and energy in the process, in the planning for it, so that, it goes in correctly, quickly, and you're not doing the refits and moving ductwork and any of this other stuff.
The quality's there, right? You get the benefit of built-in.
Yeah.
And you got to plan to
Yeah,
get that.
particularly if we're doing something like, where it's not a dedicated theater room, well, do you have, a good space where you can get your front, and rear speakers in?
Right.
So a healthy home in a minute.
Well, we've got to give Sean some time for his sponsor presentation as well.
Yeah. So
We were given permission to run over a little.
Yeah. So a lot of you, I think yesterday, both groups saw the wellness wheel, environmental, physical, and psychological features. So we won't go too far on it, but these are elements that are growing for a number of reasons, starting with COVID, going through spirituality. And good, better, best is really, if you just click again, if we focus on just air, water, and light, those are typically the first three categories I think people think about. Sound is a good one. Sound is about sound mitigation, et cetera. So if you go through, flip through the next. So variety of products. I think if you take air for an example, for good, better, best, if you want to go just to that, we'll get to that slide. Monitoring tells you there's something wrong. Ventilation manually helps you mitigate the issue. Integrating the controls so you have monitoring with automated mitigation is a real important part. So you got the ventilation, that some places, getting the air intake is not a standard. That's something that's going to be a big add, and then automate the mitigation, and you got your best. Lighting, we're all doing LED, but now let's get into those different choices of color and warmth, and then full temp and color tunable light with full automation and control. And water, I stayed with the filtration. You have a source filtration in the sink, multi-tap filtration in bathrooms, and then whole home filtration would be a best example.
Good stuff. What do you guys think? Are you doing stuff in the healthy home space?
Yes, but I'm really excited about the advancements of the whole HVAC system communicating, and I still haven't seen the product yet that fits. But I'm very excited that we're thinking about this and thinking about our ventilation and how's everything talking.
I think particularly when it comes to the air aspect of things, we've been thinking and working on these things forever. But now all of a sudden, because of market situations with the pandemic, it has some sex appeal for once. So again, it's that new home versus used home. Good luck advertising, what a great healthy home your used home is. You can definitely do that as a new home.
Great point. I like your obsession with winning against used.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go to Sean for, I think you need the clicker, right, Sean?
Yeah.
GE is the sponsor of this session. Sean, really, you did a great job editorially, but let's hear a little bit more about what you have to offer builders.
So first, thank you all for being here in the session. A lot to take in. So I'm just going to give you a few things on GE. Hopefully, you know we all make appliances. If you're a current customer, we appreciate your business. Stop by and say hi. If you don't buy anything from us today, stop by and say hi and let us talk to you about how we can help you out. But beyond appliances, you know, we make millions of appliances a year, but from a smart appliance standpoint, we do millions of diagnostic reads. We do billions of communications through our cloud. So very, very robust on the smart side of the applications. And we don't look at it just from an appliance standpoint. We run it across the entire space of our business, through our distribution, through our homes, through our service, and through a new offering of management, which I'll talk about at the end. So a little bit. There we go. Just so a little bit on GE, 650 connected appliances across the portfolio, across almost every offering that we've got. So if you've got a need, we have a product that'll fit it. We believe in an open platform. We know we can't do it all by ourselves. It is powered by our SmartHQ platform, but we work with a lot of different partners. We are into the industry with Matter and HCA to be able to drive this thing even further. And then from a design standpoint, we've got an offering that works for every one of your customers, whether they be super high end or into the mass or the middle market. We've got an offering that will work for them and fit your needs. And then lastly, again, we run this across our business. SmartHQ Pro is our latest offering. This allows you, we really flipped it for the business owner. So if you have anything in a multi-unit space, this allows you to see a fleet of appliances. It also allows, from a service standpoint, for us to give the same type of service that we would give to our factory service technicians to a third-party service technician. So before they think about pulling that refrigerator across that hardwood floor or next to that granite countertop or those custom cabinetries, they can know that it's the freezer fan that needs to be replaced. They've got one on their truck, and they can solve it first, or solve it on the first trip, which is good for them and it's good for your customer, right? We know things are going to happen, and this is our way to be able to try and solve that and make it as easy as possible for everybody. And then I'll finish with a little quick video at the end. I think they'll play it in the back.
This is not just innovation. This is smarter innovation. With appliances that let you check it here, start it there, control it anywhere. This is No Spills Autofill. And a way to let them know dinner's good to go. This is just the beginning. This is GE Profile.
Okay, thank you very much.
Jeff, if you could put up the communication slide. Thanks to GE for sponsoring the session. You've got email addresses and phone numbers for the panel if you have questions of any sort. Thanks, Trevor. Thanks, Dan. Thanks, Joe. Good job. And it's off to the exhibits for browsing time and then to your one-on-one meetings. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank you.